Ni hao.
Yeah.
How are you? How many of you here know who I am? Just raise your hand if you know who I am. Okay.
邊個知道佢係邊個舉手喎？點解咁少人舉手啊？哦 ，now
You gotta speak Chinese. They all know you.
I want to give you some background before we talk about the topic at hand.
佢想俾佢自己少少背景你哋知先。
I am not new to the Chinese community.
好熟悉華人社區嘅，唔係一個新人嚟。
When I was a police officer, I teamed up with the Asian Jade Society to fight for promotions and anti-discrimination in Chinese police officers.
佢當年當差嗰陣咧，同啲華人嗰玉石協會嘅嗰個華人嗰個警察會咧，就一齊去爭取升職啊、平等嗰啲工作啊。
When I was a state senator, a young Chinese delivery boy was attacked and killed in Flatbush. I stood with his family and helped them with their funeral.
佢當差嗰陣咧，有人俾人殺死咧，佢亦都係喺嗰度喺 Flatbush 嗰度企埋佢啲家人身邊，係爭取佢哋應得嘅嘢。
A year and a half ago, when a Chinese grocery store opened in Bensonhurst, and the residents wanted to be anti-Chinese and close the store, I fought and said that cannot happen.
1年前有間華人超市喺個白人區開嗰陣咧，嗰啲白人係極力反對呢間超市喺嗰度存在，佢亦都出面去同嗰個頭大超市去爭取喺嗰度，亦都係存在緊。
When your children could not take off school for your new year, I spoke with the mayor and the senator and say this is wrong for the Chinese community. They should be allowed to take off their Chinese New Year.
佢亦都為爭取咗唐人新年係假期咧，佢亦都係同啲政客、同市府啊、同市長爭取到係我哋應有嘅假期。
When a Chinese police officer shot an African American and people wanted to throw him in jail, I met with African American leaders and Chinese leaders and stopped the crazy atmosphere of putting that young man in jail.
3年前大家都知道有個梁警官係殺咗一個非裔喺嗰啲政府樓嗰度，佢亦都出嚟同我哋爭取公道，咁因為佢覺得係絕對係唔應該咁做。
Members of my community were angry at me for standing with this community, but I knew it was the right thing to do.
當年好多黑人領袖咧，亦都反對佢，佢覺得支持佢個華人唔啱，佢亦都積極去做自己應該做自己嘅嘢。
When we lost a young Chinese police officer that was assassinated, his family became my family, and I embraced them the way I embraced my son, because they were important to me.
3年前有盧警官喺福倫俾人殺死咧，咁佢亦都係而家同嗰個阿劉媽媽喺嗰度，或者佢亦都同啲家人企住一齊支持佢哋。
I am not new to this community, and when no one else would have invested the time to build an archway to show the strength of the Chinese community here in Sunset Park, we finally did it together.
佢亦都喺八大道嗰度幫我哋啲華人爭取到我哋應有嘅牌樓。咁大家都知道好多城市都有牌樓紀念我哋啲華人嘅功勞。咁佢係積極咁去同我哋爭取到。
So it hurts me when I have a community that I have stood with have a few people in your community given the impression that I am anti-Chinese.
佢好唔高興咁聽到我哋社區有啲人咧係話佢係反對華人嘅。
There has not been any elected official in this city that has stood up more for the Chinese community that I have.
Yeah.
佢同大家咁講佢咧，佢係唯一個政客係周時平都企喺度華人嘅身邊嘅政客。
The history of this country.
呢個國家嘅歷史。
This country is filled with discrimination.
呢個國家係充滿歧視嘅。
People who look like me were once slaves.
好似佢咁，佢哋曾經以前係做嗰啲咩嗰啲奴隸啊，奴隸。
And it was the law of the land.
呢個係個地方嘅法律。
Irish Americans, when they first came to America, there were signs that says no dogs, no Irish allowed.
佢哋以前喺美國咧，好多人屋企面前咧整咗個允許狗同埋嗰啲愛爾蘭人喺附近。
The law of the land would not allow Italian Americans to come to America, and that was the law.
嗰啲法律亦都係阻止啲意大利人嚟美國嘅。
In 1800, there was a law. After the Chinese built the transcontinental railroad system, there was a law to stop Chinese Americans immigrating or Chinese immigrated to America.
喺1800年，我哋華人喺西岸咧就整咗個鐵路。當時起完個鐵路咧，佢就唔允許嗰啲華人移民過嚟美國。
This country has always discriminated against people, always.
佢話呢啲法例咧一路係歧視啲人，歧視啲華人。
And that's what this fight is about today.
所以我哋而家去爭取我哋應有嘅權利。
Just as my son and these children here, we want the best for them.
佢話好似佢個仔，好似我啲子女咁，我哋係要同佢爭取到最好嘅。
We may have different ways of saying it, but we are saying the same thing.
我哋有唔同嘅講法，但係我哋講嚟講去咧，言歸正傳。Hello. Mấy tiền? It's okay.
No, go finish, and I can talk.
Okay,
you hear me?
I forget what you said.
We're saying it different ways, but we're saying the same thing.
我哋最主要咧就係我哋講嚟講去或者有唔同嘅講法，但係我哋最終嘅目的咧都係一樣嘅啫。
Last year, I did a report on specialized high school.
佢舊年咧做咗一個報告，係關於特別嘅高中嘅。
And in the report, I looked at what is the problem with our specialized high schools.
佢嗰個報告嗰度講咧，佢係如果冇咗特殊高中咧，有乜唔同嘅
I interviewed people who went through specialized high schools, educators, parents, students. I spent months to find out what is the problem.
佢喺特殊高中問過啲學生，問過啲老師，咁去了解下有咩問題。
After all those months, we put together this report.
佢研究咗幾個月之後咧，佢就做咗呢個報告。
Nowhere in this report did we say we should get rid of the SAT.
佢嗰個報告嗰度咧係冇提到話唔要嗰個考試嘅。
Now, you and I could differ in how the test is done.
佢話佢同你或者係覺得個試有啲唔同嘅。
but we should never do anything that's going to hurt those Chinese students who are attempting to excel.
佢話一定唔會傷害嗰啲華人子女喺學校去學習。
It is my belief the way the test is done now, not only does it hurt African American, Hispanic, but it also hurts many potential Chinese students who are not getting inside the school system of gifted and talented. 呢個試咧唔止傷害嗰啲華人，仲傷害啲亞裔嘅西班牙人。So the goal is not to fight over the seats that we have. The city must expand and have more seats that every child that's qualified will have an opportunity. 我哋唔係去爭取而家呢啲咁嘅所謂特殊高中嘅學位，佢覺得市府咧應該增多更加呢啲特殊高中去俾啲有資格嘅子女去學習。It is my belief that if this child is a poor test taker, but a gifted student, she should still have the opportunity to get in a gifted and talented program. 佢又覺得咧，如果有啲學生咧，雖然考試唔係好叻，但係佢有其他嗰啲天才，佢覺得呢個子女咧，亦都係應該有資格、有機會去嗰啲特殊高中。It is my belief that a Chinese or a Hispanic or an African American or a Jewish parent that is a delivery boy should not have to spend every dollar they have for their child to go through a tutorial program. It should be free for every child in this city. 佢就覺得咧，啲華人啊、猶太人啊、黑人啊，啲家長咧係好辛苦咁做工咧，佢唔需要再花錢喺啲子女去嗰啲特別補習班，佢覺得市府應該提供呢啲咁嘅服務俾啲學生。And so what is happening? They have Mrs. Wong fighting with Eric Adams' son for limited seats when we should be fighting together for all the seats for all of our children in this city. 點解我哋大家喺度鬥爭緊呢個學位？其實咧，我哋應該團結起來，去爭取更多學位俾更多嘅子女。He is not the enemy. I am not the enemy. The enemy is what's denying his child and my child if they are ready for gifted and talented programs to get in. That is the problem. We are not at each other. We are with each other. And we should fight for the same thing.
Correct, I agree. I think there's different ways we can do it.
佢話嗰兩個唔係敵人啊，OK，應該大家一共同去爭取我哋嘅福利。That's right. That's right.
Can you please repeat what you said?
Randomly chosen. Randomly chosen.
I thought you knew it.
You know? So there are those who believe that if you look at the overall of a child, that it would bring down the standards of a school. 佢覺得咧，如果俾啲任何子弟入去嗰啲特殊高中咧，佢嗰啲學校咧嗰啲成績一定會降低。I don't believe that. 佢唔相信。It doesn't mean I'm right and they are wrong. 未必佢係啱，係你哋錯。It means we need to talk. 佢係講咧係我哋要大家互相溝通。And find a way that we both can get what we're after, and that's to educate our children. 去尋求一個方法，好好教等我哋啲子弟好好受到教育。I am an advocate for children. 佢係一個兒童嘅保護者。My significant other, my spouse, is a teacher. 佢個妻子係個
先生嚟嘅，
a former principal.
以前嘅校長，
I know what happened when children are not given the opportunity.
佢知道啲子弟如果唔得到嘅機會，
As the borough president, I must give those children the opportunity.
作為個區長，佢一定會俾嗰啲子弟一個機會。
And if you have a better idea than I do, I'm willing to learn.
如果你哋有咩好嘅建議咧，佢會去接受去學習。
I don't have all the answers,
佢冇所有答案，
but I do know one answer.
佢知道一個答案就係、
Every child that is capable should have the opportunity to be a part of the gifted and talented program.
一個任何有資格嘅優質子弟咧，都有資格嗰啲優質學校。
And far too many of all of our communities are not being included, and that must change.
佢話我哋好多社區咧就唔包括喺入邊，我呢啲一定要改變。
That includes a pipeline in education that we used to have.
關於教育嘅渠道，
That includes more gifted and talented seats in other communities that we don't have.
多啲優質學校俾啲優質學生。
That includes free tutorial as long as we have the test to have free tutorials for all the students.
其他嗰啲課後嗰啲免費輔導。
That includes bus transportation for countless number of parents who can't get their children to school on time.
嗰啲學校巴士服務，因為好多學生家長唔能夠帶啲子女返學。
That includes early testing. A child should be tested at the beginning of his school introduction, not when he gets into high school or middle school.
佢話係入學之前、入高中之前啲考試，唔係入咗去先考試。
We have to do things differently to get better results, and I'm open to learn how do we get better results.
我哋一定要改變，佢要聽你啲意見，佢一定會去跟進。
I want to thank you for allowing me to speak with you, and I will answer any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
多謝你聽佢講，如果任何人有乜嘢問題嘅，可以直接問佢。多謝。
謝謝。
Thank you。
我唔使，我同你講。
你同我講，要執佢面嘅啦，當然。
OK，我想問下咧，資源就係咁多而家咧就係得咁多個資源嘅情況下，我哋係乜嘢嘅細路先可以入到呢個學校？
She said we have limited resources. How our child can get into the specialized high school？ 係咪咁嘅意思啊？
總共就係得咁多名額咁你唔係佢入就佢入，係咪？喺嗰種情況下，係邊啲學生先係有資格入？佢話嘅全部都有資格入。
Specialized high school since the seats are so limited.
First of all, I didn't pick you for any particular reason. And right, and her question is the right question. They should not be limited.
佢問嘅問題係啱嘅，應該唔係有個數目嘅阻止係，即係唔係一定有一個數目。
We are doing it the wrong way.
我哋而家做嘅方法係錯嘅。
We have a predetermined number of seats, and we try to fit people in them.
我哋係有限量嘅座位，所以係要經過唔同嘅方法去揾啲學生。
We should first see the demand and then fit into the demand. Right now, we're not dealing with the demand. We should not be turning around children who are capable but don't fit into the seats that we have allocated.
我話有啲需求量多，佢又唔夠有咁嘅學校，佢哋應該係調翻轉，我哋係要有適當嘅學校俾有需求嘅學生。
We should start off with the mindset. Every child that is capable must have a seat in a gifted and talented program.
佢話咧係一定要有足夠嘅學校，俾俾啲有優質嘅學生去學習。
Perfect example. This morning, I had breakfast with a man called Meredith Marshall.
佢今朝早有個人同佢食早餐，叫 Mary Marshall。
He went to Brooklyn Tech High School.
佢去Brooklyn Tech 有間好特別嘅高中。
He failed the test by 1 point.
佢考嗰個試咧就係爭1分嘅啫。
He finally convinced himself to go to summer school and try again.
佢就覺得佢就要去爭取，所以佢去夏威嗰啲特別補習班。
His mother and father told him, just go to another school instead.
佢爹哋媽咪話：你唔好搞咁多啦，你去求其一間學校得㗎啦。
He didn't do that.
佢冇做到。
He passed.
佢成功咗。
He led his school in math and science throughout the entire time he was there.
佢喺學校佢嗰science 同埋算術都係嗰班係最高分嘅。
He's now one of the most influential developers in this city.
佢而家係喺呢個市咧就係最有影響力嘅人。
If he would not have persisted, he would not be where he is now.
如果佢唔係極力嘅自己爭取咧，佢就而家唔會係咁嘅地位。
And there are many children like that in this city that we need to save.
佢話喺市嗰度有好多嗰啲優質學生，好似佢咁樣。
And that's what this fight is about.
所以我哋去爭取。
I'd like to ask some questions, and then maybe you could translate it into Chinese. Yeah, 中文係佢講。中文都俾啊。唔係我哋啲中文咁樣，你都係要翻譯㗎嘛，係咪？俾佢聽一聽。We're very concerned about the bill because you just said that we're not going to have any reduction of seats. We're going to have more seats, but actually the test, as the bill says, is going to reduce the number of kids taking the SAT to 5%. It's really going to eliminate the test. Now that.
Why don't we do it in pieces? Why don't we ask the question in pieces so that I can answer? Okay.
Please.
Okay. So we need to. Why don't you let them know what the question was?
OK， 佢話而家咧係嗰個法案咧就係話佢要將5% 20% 係佢。
No, that's the discovery program. But eventually, on the head calendar, they want to reduce it to first to the top students in every school. We'll start with 3% of the tops of every single school, middle school, will get into a specialized high school. Then the next year, it will be 5%.
7%.
5 and then 7%. And by the time 7% comes, the aim is to have nearly nobody take the test. It will not be by qualifications of the test.
呢個女士話咧，而家佢開始咧就係每間學校咧嗰啲優質學生投嗰3% 咧，之後就每個7%咧。就會入咗嗰啲特殊高中，咁之後咧就無形中咧就唔使考試㗎啦。
One, I'm not the author of that bill.
第一，佢唔係嗰個法案嘅提案人。
But you did say that you will try to push for legislation for it. You will try to support that. In your press release, you said that you would support that.
I'm supporting the modification of how the test is done to include more. I'm sorry, can I finish? Don't get too emotional that we can't communicate.
I think it's important we communicate because I think that we are trying to work for the community together.
Right, exactly. And here's my belief. My belief that the exam itself needs to be modified to make sure that we look at more than just an academic score, to look at the whole child. And we should expand who's part of the gifted and talented program, and more seats should be available, not taken away.
What about the bill at hand, though?
Hold on. We're going to do this one at a time. We're going to stay with the people. She has the floor right here.
除咗文學之外咧，仲應該加多其他啲嘢入去。
I think that they're trying we're talking about the other holistic parts, that's the GPAs in the schools, and also the recommendations, the extracurriculars. These are the holistic things that actually will penalize a lot of the poor immigrant families, because it costs a lot to be able to achieve that kind of background. And most of the schools, there have been studies too, where an NYU professor said that pretty much that if you change to a more well-rounded, holistic approach, you're going to actually penalize people, and the schools that are like that, the screen schools in fact, are more white and richer. So we're going to actually find that immigrant families will, as well as poor families, will be unduly penalized.
And I think
佢話佢啲入學機會咧係對嗰啲富有人得益，啲白人得益，咁係對嗰啲華人比較貧窮咧就係唔係咁公平。
And I think that at this time, knowing the pathway of how bills go through Albany, this is the opportunity to take the original draft and sit down to shape it that we don't penalize folks. If you look at all those things that you are sharing and that all the advocates have been sharing around this topic.
One of the things that we're concerned about is making sure.
佢話嗰啲個法案咧，仲未入去州決定之前咧，我哋趁呢個時間咧係可以同嗰啲大家溝通，又要爭取。
One of the things is the pipeline. You're talking about fixing the pipeline. When we have a school system right now that generates only 2.7% or so of African Americans who can achieve level 4 in their 8th grade state assessments in math. That's level 4, most of the parents know here, it's level 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Level 1, fail. Level 2, fail. Level 3, barely pass. Level 4, now you're getting to proficiency. And so to get to the top schools, you have to be the top of level 4, right? So if we have a very small percentage at level 4, you're not going to have enough at the top of level 4 to perform at these top schools, the top STEM schools. They're STEM schools.
Level 4 1至4，咁係咪好多都學校達到唔到4級，就比較喺嗰啲特殊高中咧係比較難學習嘅。
We have a problem here, and the problem is really trying to increase the number of black students who can achieve level 4, because everyone in this room wants more students to be able to achieve level 4. There are schools that now, where an entire middle school in 8th grade, there's not a single student who can pass fractions. When nobody knows fractions at 8th grade, we've got a big problem. And so I think a lot of us here feel that this is masking the problem. We're picking on the specialized high schools, but not fixing the problem of 97% of the students not doing that.
佢嗰個意思要講咧，就啲全高中咧係好唔係咁容易去學習㗎，咁佢而家係即係搞咗呢個法案出嚟咧，係對我哋係非常之唔公平。係啊，
Hold on, everybody's going to talk, but let's respect who have the floor.
And so the gifted and talented programs, we want more kids to go through the gifted and talented program, but that's a K-8 problem at the very outset. We're talking about K-8 that has to be fixed, because if you don't fix that, and you take those couple of few numbers from the level 4, you don't have that level 4. So you have to get them to come out and be able to expand that performance at an earlier level. So what are we going to do to that? And we're willing to work with that, because I think a lot of us here, we're Chinese here, we believe in education, okay? Education is important, and we believe that it's good for everybody too. What's good enough for us is good enough for everybody else for education. And so when you have education for everybody on a fair basis, and that's one of the beauties of the test. It doesn't look at your race. It doesn't look at your religion. It doesn't look at whether you're a girl or a boy, your parents are rich or poor. They don't care if you have political connections so you can get in. There are certain screen schools that have a lot of politicians' kids. And there's screen schools that are holistic. And I know that principals from Bronx Science have said, we used to get calls all the time and said, I have a nice kid here, could you get them in? And you would say, no, it is the law. You pass the test, you can't get in. That is fairness and evenness for everybody. The question is, how do you increase the number who can get in under the same process? We're trying to see that the test actually correlates to your other assessments. Your level 4s are low, then your SATs passers are also low. You've got to fix the basic problem there. How are we going to do that to actually improve education for everybody? And I think we're going to get test prep also for everybody. I think that's a good idea.
呢個事係好公平嘅，你哋係咩族裔啊？有咩教育屋企有咩背景啊？所以佢就希望一路 keep 住呢個事，唔係話你識得邊個啊？又揾入學啊咁樣咯。即係喺度鬥。
First of all, thank you for your question.
My son.
Let me answer a question. Then I'm going to get to you. We're not going to leave you. Thank you for the question. I think that if we listen to the question that was asked, pipeline, dealing with level 4s, expanding the seats, that is exactly what's in my report. We're saying the same things.
But you want to get rid of the test.
Let me, no. I want you say test stays the way it is. I say, with the test, we do an overall assessment of the children, because there's some children who are bad test takers, but they have the quality to pass the system. We are saying that we say the same thing. Our sticking point is on, per se, the test. That's what we sit down and figure out, how do we reach the same point? That's what I'm saying. How do we reach the same point? I don't look at you and say, you are wrong. And I'm not going to say I'm wrong. I'm saying as adults, how do we figure out to get to the best place for our children? We have a different of opinion on one aspect of this conversation, which is many aspects. Pipeline, free testing, and all those other things are various aspects. We can agree on 99% of them and disagree on a portion of it, and all of a sudden say, let's throw our hands up. And I say no to that.
Actually, I'm not throwing it. I think that this is precisely the kind of discussion that we have to have, saying that if we are not to change the test, but to increase the pipeline, that is the fair thing. And we have 30,000 parents and families who take the test every year. It's a school choice issue too, because for all the other kids, if they are talking about holistic criteria, there are lots of other screen schools and other schools that they can choose. We're talking about 8 schools out of so many. 8 schools that are going to be conducted only by tests. And there are choices that are different for other students. And so for these, if they want to pass the test, if they want to come to these schools, these are test schools. We should go and improve their ability to compete. It's sort of like when you go into the Olympics.
We said the same thing.
No, not right. I don't think we said the same thing, because I think that we want to agree, so we'd like to say that we're saying the same thing, but I think that we should see what we're saying so that we hear better what we're saying. So I want to respectfully defer and say that we have to understand that we are saying different things, although our goal may be the same. So our goal is to educate our kids, but we believe that there should be the choice of having test schools which can be fair and objective and background blind.
I respectfully disagree that we are saying the same things. And I pointed out why I believe we differ. I believe in the pipeline. You stated that you believe in the pipeline of improving our level 4 course. I believe in free tutorial. You said you believe in free tutorials. We both said that. I believe that if we have an exam, it should also look at the holistic child. You said. Okay, hold on. Can I finish my sentence, sir? And I assume you went to a specialized school? Part of specialized schools should teach our children discipline also. And yelling out while we try to communicate is not just going to solve a problem. That's something that we shouldn't do. It's about communicating. As adults, we're going to disagree from time to time. How do we solve our disagreements is at the heart of this. So I know you have a different view than I do on the aspect of the test. I respect that. My view is different from you. And that's what I want to be clear on. We have a different view. I believe, in my view, that we should look at the entire child as part of the test. We should not be saying, just get rid of the test. That is my belief. Your belief is should be solely the test, and I respect your view.
But I am only talking about 8 schools.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The other schools can do this. We're talking about just 8 schools that are going to be test only. And the rest of the school, you could do all 600 some high school programs. There are 700 in the programs, 600 some high schools and 700, over 700 programs. We could have many that take on to multiple criteria. But for just a certain small number of schools, it's a school choice issue too, where we have been able to select it. Why are we focusing on 8 schools when Rome is burning? We have to fix the K-8 problem, and we're focusing on 8 schools that are test only and color blind, race blind, religion blind, creed blind, and whether you're wealthy or poor, whether you came here speaking no English at all, to be able to come in and have this opportunity. Is that not the American dream? 我講返你頭先講個例子，同埋我個細路仔。你同佢講英文講啦，你識聽咧，就 Fox Law 信件。你用英文同佢講啦，唔使我翻嚟。唔得啊，唔係。你啱啱聽得咁多又。可以俾大家聽下嘛？你介紹翻嚟，聽多啲。你頭先講個例子個 sample 就係話，佢爭1分就入唔到，佢想爭取佢嘅機會。咁我想問，如果呢個法案實施咗之後，咁好多個分數超過咗嘅細路仔，佢就冇咗呢個機會喎。Okay?
You talk about the story that a special entrepreneur just missing by 1 point getting into the school. But now you are getting already a test. That means a lot of gifted students never have the chance again.
I'm sorry,
You mentioned about there was a very successful entrepreneur missing by 1 point, so he went to summer school and he came to school and become very successful.
Right.
She said, since you are getting rid of the test, and there will be a lot of more gifted students will have the opportunity to go to school, specialized high school.
She said, for those students who miss the cut-off point, let's say missing by 1 point below the bar, could get into specialized high schools, taking up a seat, whereas those students who pass and score really high above the bar lose the seat. That's what she said. Yeah. Is that fair? It's not fair. That's what she said. Yeah.
They would lose.
You asked her.
Yeah.
I repeat the question again. Okay. She said, for those, you see what? For those students who miss the cut-off point, let's say 1 point below the bar, 1 point below the threshold, will be given a chance for a seat at one of 8 specialized high schools, which is taking up the space and pushing out the other students who score much higher above the bar.
I got you. Okay.
Is it fair for those who score so high above the bar to lose a seat, while the others who missed the bar, even missed by 1 point,
Right.
got the seat?
Right, no.
Is
it's
it
not.
fair
No.
equity?
No, it's not. No.
Okay.
And I'm going to say it again. Every child that is qualified should be allowed inside a specialized high school. And it shouldn't only be 8 specialized high schools in the city. That in itself is wrong. Every child that qualifies to go to a gifted and talented program should be allowed. So the person who misses by 1 point should not go in for the person who scored 8 points over or 20 points over. Every child that's qualified should be able to go to a gifted and talented program.
Yeah, I know. My kid is in gifted program. Right? Okay. 琴日我個仔同我先生聽到呢個法案個公佈，咁我個仔而家係7年級，佢咧就啱啱就過咗新馬，佢就考呢、個三大高中特殊高中嘅 test，OK， 咁佢就話點解我咁黑㗎？如果我係考到，佢唔收我，咁收嗰啲。考唔到嘅佢都收嗰啲，佢話：咁點解我俾人付出多咗，我俾人哋叻都唔要我㗎？咁樣，第二個，我嘅細路仔一路都有係2年級開始去 gifted 嘅 program。我知道佢哋由3年級開始，佢哋嘅教材係比 regular 嗰啲有啲啲唔同，深啲嘅。數學係多咗我哋大陸嘅小學嗰邊嗰啲所謂叫做嘅奧林匹克競賽嘅嗰啲項目內容嚟嘅 ，regular 嗰啲係冇嘅。咁我亦都見過，我舊年我細路仔嘅教材，亦都開始有滲透嗰啲奧林匹克數學競賽嗰啲內容入去啦。咁我想問，如果佢話普通嘅佢都係話所謂考嗰個三大特殊高中嘅試啦。如果你普通嘅數學你都係問地上，咁我想問佢學更深難度嘅教材，佢學唔到，佢學唔到。上咗去三大特殊高中，佢只係佔咗好嘅就係話佢有其他嘅畫畫啊、運動啊、乜嘢嗰啲特殊嘅佢嘅優點，佢嘅長處，但係我想問你呢個三大特殊高中嘅考試，佢係要擇優錄取，唔係話我要你有特長嚟擇取喎。咁你點解要將佢係擇優錄取嘅，而係棄優而擇中庸呢？中等嘅呢？你既然話係特殊高中要 top 嘅，你點解唔係你所謂嘅要擇資優生？但你而家嘅法案又話我資優生唔要，點解要係要問水嗰種呢？咁你就係即係話取消咗資優生個機會。你而家咁嘅法案就取消咗資優生嘅機會，唔係你嘅目的話想發展其他長處嘅特長嘅，俾佢發展其他嘅特長，應該係用其他學校嘅，好似孖端啦，我知道嘅孖端嘅佢有其他嘅才藝嗰啲特長啊，係咪？可以係有嗰種高中啫，但你而家嘅三特殊高中唔係話係要擇優錄取啊嘛。
我翻譯他聽不懂，你講這麼長。
I understood that.
我都發現正常就
我都聽不懂。
聽不懂，我不能講國語啊 ，I'm sorry. Okay. She said that she has a seventh grade student at home, his son. Okay. She want to get to the specialized high school, but since next year he will take the test, and with certain high grade, he's afraid that he couldn't get in. The seat are given to the special student with special skill, and she said it's not fair for his kid. And the second thing is, she mentioned about the specialized high school. Those are for specialized academic students. And there are other schools that is made for none other than academic specialized students. They could go to those schools. Some of the things I mentioned.
And tell her that with the issue with her son, that she's afraid that, if I understand her correctly, that he will be academically prepared, but he won't have the seat. That can't happen, and I don't believe that should happen. I believe that, again, every child that's qualified should have a seat, and we shouldn't be fighting off this small pool. We should expand the, right, see, the one side of good listeners don't, at least let me finish. You know, we should expand and make sure that the demand is there. I mean, the need is there to fit the demand, and right now that is not what we have in this city. The demand is higher than the need.
你啱啱講你個仔雖然搞高分入唔到係好大可能 ，OK？ 因為佢而家個需求多過佢，所以就話佢覺得咧，就每一個優質嘅子弟咧都應該有權入優質嘅學校。但係而家我哋市政府咧係冇咁多優質學校，咁咪由高低到取落嚟咯。好 easy。That's why she said it's easy. Just pick the top down below.
Okay. No, I think she was first.
Hi. I just have a question to clarify, because you keep saying that there will be more seats and there will be more seats. So where are these seats coming from? Are we adding more chairs into the classrooms of the schools? Are we building more floors on top? Or are we naming more specialized high schools? Because I know there's more demand, but where are these seats coming from to fill that demand?
Okay, I didn't say, and I want to be clear, I did not say there would be more seats. I don't have that power and authority. I'm telling you what I believe. This discussion is to give my position. Okay. My position is that we need more seats. My conversation with the mayor is, Mayor, we need more seats. My conversation with the former chancellor was, Chancellor, I'm hearing too many communities in the city where children would like to be in the gifted and talented program. They are qualified to do so, but they don't have a gifted and talented seat in their community. So the fight needs to be, we need more seats to allow these families to have these programs. One family in Bedford-Stuyvesant had to travel all the way to Manhattan for a gifted and talented program because there was no gifted and talented program seats in their community. So it's not as though we don't have children who can fit these seats. We don't have the seat in these communities. So I'm saying we need to be pushing for more seats.
But the bill that's currently at hand is not adding any more seats. All it's doing is taking away the ones that we already have, right? Mm-hmm. So unless we add an amendment to the bill that extends, unless we add some sort of other bill or amendment to the bill that adds more seats, then we can't, that's not part of the conversation. Right now is a limited number of seats. We're taking 20% away for this new Discovery program that has a different criteria than the current Discovery program that explicitly excludes this community. So we just lost 20% of the seats that we were fighting for to begin with. And out of 1,000 seats, we sent 1,000. We lose. Yep. Right, so we have 5,000 students that get into specialized high schools. Now we only admit 4,000. Unless we put extra chairs into the classrooms or add more floors to the schools, we now only have 4,000 seats that we can test into. So that already we're losing seats. So unless this bill is amended to add specialized high schools or add more seats, I don't see how it helps us.
And that and I think your point is an excellent point, and this is the moment to do that. When a bill first comes to Albany, it comes in a very rough stage. This is the opportunity for advocates like yourself and parents here to start advocating with your electeds there, the Assembly and the Senate, to say, here's the raw copy of the bill, here's how this bill needs to shape to get the final product of the bill. And all the voices need to be heard on how to get to that final product of the bill. So you're 100% correct. This is the opportunity to do so. Many bills that are introduced in one level are not the final product of the bill. Conversations need to be put in place why certain language needs to be changed, why it should be written in a certain way. This is the time to do that. He would say, then we get you.
Eric, first of all, congratulations on everything you do. I don't know, you probably don't recognize me. I had a lot more hair back in the day. But many, many years ago, we worked together at the Transit Police Department.
Wow.
Okay, many years ago. And I say that because when you started 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement in the 80s, late 80s, I stood up because even though it was very unpopular, it was the right thing to do.
I remember you.
Okay, so I'm standing up here because there's a problem, and I think it's getting kind of conflated. And first off, I want to say I saw some signs the other day.
Can you do one thing? Can you just give him a sound bite so he can translate? Yeah, but I want to make sure. I just like to be inclusive. I like to make sure that people hear.
Our testament.
佢話當年當差咧，佢亦都係喺嗰個交通局警察嗰度做嘅。咁啊，佢當年80年嗰陣咧，佢就成立咗100人嗰啲黑人嗰啲警察工會咧，佢都係支持者之一。
So I did see some signs the other day, and signs that I didn't like, accusing the mayor, accusing you, accusing other people of racism, calling people racist. And I think that we need to save that language for people with real malintent and not go down that path when we just have a disagreement.
佢話雖然我哋有意見唔同，OK， 但係我唔能夠偏佢係話種族歧視啊，話小張種族歧視。等陣先好冇啊！一個你講冇禮貌啊你。等人點樣講緊咪等人問先啊嘛，就交個俾你，我嘅一定俾你。
Having said that, I think all identity politics need to go by the wayside. I think we should try to get past those things. My son is one of 52 male white kids that got accepted to a gifted and talented program out of over 300. I'm not up here advocating that there should be more white children, okay? He took a test, he got a certain level, and he passed the test. Things are getting conflated here. We're talking about G&T, we're talking about K through 8, and it's muddying the waters a little too much. Right now, we have to talk about two things, which is the Assembly bill that just passed in it just got out of the Education Conference, 16 to 13, and is now going to the full Assembly. That bill would do away with the SHSAT. We have to deal with that. Separate from that, we have to talk about the Discovery Program, which is going to affect next year, in 2019, which takes away, like we said, 1,000 seats, which would affect, in this district, approximately 200 children. Where do those children go? Next year, great, we want to build 10 specialized high schools. That's fabulous. But there'll always be a kid who scores 1 point below. There's always got to be a threshold. So once we build these seats, that's great. We can lower the threshold and be more inclusive. But that's not going to help anybody next year. And we do have a solution. If this Discovery thing goes through, what we need to do is open up all of these second-tier screen schools, like Eleanor Roosevelt School, like Millennium, that has geographic exclusions, and at least make those open so our kids who miss the cutoff because of the Discovery Program have someplace to go. And that's something you can do, Eric, by talking to the mayor.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm cut off first. BP office just called me. You only can have a half an hour. Okay. You only can have an hour. Sorry.
Okay.
呢個先啦講咧，呢個分開兩樣嘢嚟講。第一樣咧，嗰個州府個法案咧係喺州議會嗰度咧係講佢要求咧就以後取消呢個考試嘅 ，OK。第二樣咧就係話佢明年開始咧有5000個學位，咁有2成係要攞出嚟俾嗰啲低質嘅學生去入去，咁樣你將嗰其他嘅1000，你點樣安置佢啊？最主要係咁樣。
Okay, and first of all, thank you for your question, your open remarks. And I think that the beauty of this country is when advocates get together and make sure their voices are heard. And if there's an aspect of the discovery part, which is separate, if there's an aspect that is detrimental to a community, this is the time we sit down and say, listen, how do we prevent that from happening? And I'm open to do that.
Or at least mitigate it. We'll mitigate the damage.
Exactly, exactly. No, I'm sorry, it was one, and then it was you in the back. Let her know. We're going to get you after here.
I just had a quick question for you. I don't know if it's a little bit of what Vito was mentioning. From the readings that I've read in terms of the press and everything, it's being touted as it is kind of racial in terms of what the objective is. From the mayor's bill, from what they're proposing, they're saying, of course, when you first read it, what's the objective? Why do you want to do it? It said, well, the first statement was there's only 10% African American or Latino students in specialized. So therefore, by changing all of this, then we're increasing that percentage. Okay, we understand that. But then, of course, the Asian community, Asian American communities, now, of course, now we're feeling like we're discriminated from. Because now, you know, if our community is saying, well, we work hard for education, we have test prep, we do this at home, we take it upon ourselves to do this. Now you're saying, well, you know what? Now it's a racial issue. Now because we're not being represented in these schools, now we have to change the system to make it reflective of New York City public schools in terms of what the demographics are. Based on what she was saying about that report, I did read that report also, the NYU report. I don't know if you read it, 2015. They were saying that you know, even if you change the metrics, change the requirements for admissions, the study concluded that the demographics would pretty much still be the same. Female attendance admissions would be increased a little bit. Latino admissions would be increased a little bit. African Americans would still kind of remain the same, if not actually be even less. So the question, of course, is how can we change this? How can we modify it, right? The statistic that stood out in my mind was that based on that study, it showed only 1/3 of junior high school students actually take the test. So right there, that's not reflective of the demographic of New York City middle schools. If only 1/3 of it is taking it, then how could you actually say, well, you know what, we want these specialized high schools to reflect that? Because the applications themselves don't reflect that. So like I said, I'm wondering, and I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate the fact that you're saying that we're saying the same things. I know we at the end of the conclusion, we want the same thing, but it depends on how we're packaging it, what's the objectives, what we're looking to achieve. Of course we want to have more seats, of course we want to have more funding, but we all know that New York City public school systems, unfortunately, is overcrowded and underfunded. So the thing is, for the short term, this is great that we're saying this dialogue, but of course the bill passed now. Now, of course, we're concerned because now in October, the children are supposed to be taking this test. What's going to happen to them? How fast can we mobilize and say, you know what, I understand this changed, but what can we do to include everyone and to make it fair for everybody?
First of all, you know, I have been in meetings that have been disruptive. And in this meeting, the mere fact we're having a dialogue is a good indicator for me. I've been in disruptive meetings, and this is a passion issue, you know, and for people to be willing to sit down and say, listen, let's figure this out, is where we ought to be. Second, the bill now has to go to the full assembly and it has to go to the Senate. This is the opportunity to craft that bill where you get your voices heard in it. This is the opportunity to do so. A third, which I think is even far more important, we're not underfunded in this educational system. We spend $25 billion a year in our education. $25 billion a year in our 90% more than California. The question becomes, under this new chancellor, are we spending it in the right place? Are we doing, do we have an overloaded bureaucracy that is not making sure that money is where the needs are, and here's an opportunity for us to have that. That's not going to be done in a year. I know it's not going to be done in a year. It's not going to be done in 2 years. But we must finally say we have to create an environment that we have a pipeline that's really going to educate these children and harness their gifts and talent, And second, make sure we have the demand, to fill the demand for those seats. That process has to start.
Right, and I understand that, and that's why I agree with the position that this needs to start from K to 8, not necessarily at this level right now, because at this point you've already lost any kind of momentum or any kind of gains that you can have from the very beginning. So I guess from my perspective, I feel kind of, you know, we've worked really hard to get to where we're at in terms of our school, our education, in terms of any kind of work that we do with our children at home, in terms of tutoring or even working with them ourselves. And I just feel now, if this bill is coming through and now this is going to get pushed through, now it feels like, well, you know what, we worked all that, now we have to work even harder now. Because now in some ways, like I said, is our community feeling like we're discriminated because now we're getting pushed aside to say, you know what, instead of 5,000 seats, now you have 4,000 seats. And that's why I feel, like I said, it's not fair. It's not fair for all the hard work that we've done.
And in 3 years, we won't even have this.
Right, and then in 3 years, right, we won't even have those seats.
And in response to your statement, we should do nothing that is going to take away from those children who are qualified to get in a gifted and talented program. They should have a seat. Every child that's qualified, and I can't say this enough, the fight here is not to say that we're not going to have enough in one district or too many in another district. The fight here is to make sure every child, no matter what district they're in, if you are qualified, there should not be any roadblocks that's going to prevent you from having a seat in the gifted talented program. That is the fight. That is the fight. The woman in the back. Yes.
I'm an English learner. If I speak improper English, forgive me. And actually, GMT and special high tax is over for every New York. Every family can apply for. But right now, you guys say to cancel the SHAT. It's kind of not fair to minor, you know, especially for American Asian family. We are not still see for others. We are working so hard. The kids study so hard for good future. I just wondering why you guys official legislators give the DOE pledge to offer New York good and high quality education to our kids, not just coming out an act to cancel that kind of thing. Thank you.
Is there another question? Was there someone else that had a question? Yes, here you are.
I just want to start with the 20%. So you keep saying that now is the time to voice our opinion before the pass a bill. But the 20% cut, it's immediate next year. There's no bill about it, right? And the way how they determine that 20% is they're going to take seats away from here and then go to those schools that's underfunded. So I don't know how this potential works. You said there's a lot of money. I don't know who decides who's underfunded, who's funded. So I don't know how that makes sense, right? Because the kids study so hard, and now how I'm going to explain to them? You score higher than that kid next to you, but because he goes to a school that's underfunded, but he gets to go in, but you don't. So how is that kid's problem, right? I don't know how you allocate the process, the budget, but that's not our issue, right? If the budget's an issue, why not fund everyone equally? I don't know if that's possible.
He needs underrepresented.
I understand.
And then the second thing is, I think you keep saying that you have supply and demand, right? So I think that sounds very idealistically, right? Let's say there's only one Harvard in the world. I can say that everyone wants to get to Harvard. There's a lot of demand. Let's create 100 of them. Then how is that realistic? The Harvard is not Harvard anymore. Special high school is not special high school anymore. It's just like a regular school. So I think it sounds idealistic, but in practice, that doesn't work. And the third thing is about holistic admission, right? I really appreciate, by the way, I think you are the only official that's opposed, not really support a bill, but that's willing to come to a community and listen to our voice. I think this is our only chance. And the other thing I want to say is that I think we know the community enough that what our lifestyle is, what kind of resource we have, right? We can't afford to have, take kids to vacations, right? And then help them with essays, recommendation letters, right? But what we can do is to ask them to study. That's the only chance we have, right? Special high school special high school admission, it's very easy for us to understand, right? We don't have to worry about essays, interviews, recommendation letters. Who am I going to call and write me a recommendation letter? I don't have those kind of connections. We don't talk about vacations at the dinner table, right? What I'm going to share with my kids so that I can prepare for the interview. We don't have any of that. And holistic approach, there's already 200 screen programs that use the holistic approach that you mentioned. And there's only 8 schools. There's only 200 screen programs that use the holistic approach. They ask for recommendation letters. They look at GPAs, right? They look at statewide exams, right? And that's the holistic approach you're trying to promote. And there's only 8 schools that require a test. So I think when we look at this issue, we have to take one step back and look at this holistically, right? We have LaGuardia, that people who can dance, can sing, good at music, auditions, you can get it. We have screen programs, right? Interviews, recommendations. And there's only 8 that require a test. Why not just leave those 8 alone and then just look at the whole system as a whole?
Thank you. I don't believe the only aspect of the things that you said that I don't support and believe is that if we expand the pool of not only seats but schools that are classified as specialized schools, that all of a sudden we're going to bring down the value of the specialized schools. From what I have witnessed throughout the borough of Brooklyn and the city after doing these hearings with Ruben Diaz, the Bronx Borough President, what I have witnessed from those hearings, the number of parents who their children are capable of handling the load but can't get a seat or can't get to the school because of the burden of transportation. The number of parents that have participated in the hearing tells me that it must be an expansion of the seats. That is my fight. That's what I believe I need to push for all the children in this borough, and that is where the direction I am going. Okay, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come out. I think that we should continue to advocate. You have alumni, you have other groups. You should do all that you can to continue to push and get your voice to be heard. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, 大家好啊。I want to say one thing. All right, from the action of today in the assembly, and I see the gathering today over here about the concern. The biggest issue that we, the Chinese American community, have to do is vote. All right, this is our problem. Okay, get into your head. 即係我哋一定係要選票，你哋唔去投票，講幾多都冇用。點解我哋而家係咁樣咧？嗱，大家翻去反映下，唔好係淨係得個講。希望你哋同自己嘅人快快脆脆註冊選舉。喺美國係唯一一樣嘢，唔係話你大聲話你應該，係你有冇票。OK， 希望大家明白呢一點。同埋咧。